This was the last of the three teams in what we believe the title race now, playing with Arsenal and Liverpool getting their business done. So City hosting Chelsea, a City team on 11 straight wins. I think we probably thought it would be 12 straight wins, but I have to say a couple of things didn't happen. City didn't play, their football wasn't at their best, and Erling Haaland had an off day, would be my takeaways, mate.
Yeah, I got more than that. I got more takeaways than that. I think you're absolutely right. I think City weren't quite at it, but and Erling Haaland absolutely had an off day. Misses, particularly the last header, that like flabbergasted. Really, like wow, like he missed that one. It looked like a comfortable header. So a bad day for him. The more takeaway for me, Rob, was Chelsea and their performance that I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
The spirit, the togetherness, the defensive strength, the individual displays, the team display, the attacking play. They could have been a little bit more ruthless in front of goal to put the game to bed. They had a couple of opportunities to score more than the one goal against Man City. Ederson come up with a big double save, I think, late at some point in the game. But
against Sterling, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sterling, where he got good contact on the ball, makes a good save there. It's just Chelsea, Robbie. I think I said after the game in the studio, wow, like that's a new standard for Chelsea now. That's a new bar that they've set, and if and when they perform in different ways and don't get good results, you can go back to the way that they played, the way that they worked hard, Rob. Like, even the midfield players, particularly Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez, I've never seen him so far in English football work as hard without the ball and track back. Now, maybe we'll get into why this is, whether these young players need to have a big occasion, expectation levels are a little lower, maybe less pressure when they go to Man City. But some of the performances of some of their players throughout the team, particularly defensively, were incredible. And that's so different to Chelsea, and they absolutely deserve their point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a Chelsea. I looked at numbers, so my headline I gave you because I think we felt City would win the game, and at this stage we all talk about City hitting the patch where they go on these incredible runs. That wasn't to take anything from Chelsea, who, as you say, were excellent. I'd put it on par. I think early in the season they played Arsenal, Chelsea. I think they got a scoring draw against Chelsea, where I thought they played particularly well. And in other games, I think we've maybe had spells of good Chelsea where you've gone, that's better. That looks more like it. But it's never been over a sustained period. It's never been probably against the quality of opposition that they had against City. I thought, like yourself, I've got a note. I thought Caicedo and Enzo are starting to look like a partnership, mate. And I've been critical of them early in the season, that they play like individuals. At times they don't understand the responsibility in front of a back three or a back four, however they're set up. I thought that as a pair, that it's starting to look something like what you pay $200 million for, and can start to give some security to the team behind them and start to launch attacks as they did in the attacking third that can be really dangerous. I thought they restricted City, although City's football wasn't great, certainly in the first half. Pep said that himself. But I thought despite the possession, they restricted City. Their shape was good. Their defending was resolute when it needed to be. A couple of really great performances back there for them, even with Thiago Silva not available. And it was it was absolutely a day where, Potter's had a couple of decent results against Pep with his Spurs teams down the years, and this must have given him as much satisfaction as any of those days.
I think what he's got to do now, Rob, given that performance, is that it's pretty obvious that what has to be relied on for me, or worked on, sorry, and that's, I don't know, like the mentality of the team. The mentality of the team. That's the kind of the level. And I know some of these haven't had a ton of Premier League experience, and new players coming into the club.
When you say work on that, Rob, when you say work on that, elaborate what you mean more. Is that like conversations? Is that team meetings? Is that video stuff, working on mentality. It's not like fitness, is it, or finishing or possession? It's a bit of a different thing, and just for our listeners and viewers, sort of take us a bit deeper where you want to, where you mean with that.
Okay, so it's a good point. I think we know that there's talent in the players. There's too many times now we've seen it in games. We saw it firsthand, by the way, Rob, didn't we? The first game of the season, was it Chelsea at home to Liverpool? We were right there. Liverpool, they played really well. Yeah. So what I'm saying is the mentality to be consistent, the mentality, and it is going to be videos, it is going to be chats, it is going to be meetings, to kind of keep going back to some of those performances, to keep showing what's necessary. Maybe the Premier League, we didn't play in other leagues in Europe, Rob, and I think what we see is that it's a more intense, more physical, maybe more competitive. I don't know. Other leagues could argue that. But I think, to win a Premier League title, you've got to have so much kind of grit, so much character, personality, and be a brilliant football team. I think Man City show that. And teams throughout the years have shown that the talent alone doesn't get you there. It just doesn't. It just does not. Even this Man City team works really, really hard. Without the ball and presses and everything else. They've got to learn, Rob, or grow the mentality that sort of effort, determination, is going to have to be most weeks. You might get away with it. Every now and again. But that is what they're capable of. And just in terms of individuals, right? And Levi Colwill is a player that I've watched closely at Brighton on loan last year. Great player. Great player. He's 20 years of age. He's slotted in there where Thiago Silva has been struggling, Rob. He's hanging on, to be fair. He's 39, Silva, and his body's given up on him. He's been an incredible footballer. It just looks like he's coming to the end a little bit. And Levi Colwill has been playing out of position as a left-back. Is a fantastic centre-back. Thought he was brilliant. Along with Axel Disasi, by the way, who played a game like, wow. Who is this guy? Nodded things away, was brave, he blocked, intercepted. He was incredible. And I'm going to go on to my underappreciated performer. And this is both underappreciated and like one to watch. 20 years of age, Malo Gusto, the French fullback that's in the team now as Reece James is out injured, is getting better and better every week I see him. First off, is not question, is his technical ability. Very skillful, good decision maker. What has surprised me is his pace, his defensive one-on-one situation, Rob. And whenever you hear of pace, good at one-on-ones and good on the ball technically, then you've got a future star there. I think I think he'll benefit from games in the Premier League to understand, wow, we got again, wow, physical intense, wow, another winger that I've got to deal with. That is coming. I can see it in him. And, of course, Reece James has had injury issues. What a player to pop into that position now, Rob. And, all these players that were bought by Chelsea, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to kind of figure out, okay, have a look at certain players, get them in the team, games after games after. Well, okay, Malo Gusto is adjusting lovely, and he's at his age. I think there's a bright future for this guy. So I want to give him a call out, shout out. I've liked his stuff before, Rob, but there's been moments in games where I'm like, you're a little. You've got to do a bit better there, or you've got to be a little bit tougher there, or you've got to, I thought he had an excellent game, really, really strong game. And you add that to Disasi, to Colwill and Ben Chilwell that was back to his normal level, and that's why it was difficult for Man City, and that's what I didn't see coming. I can comment to signs of Chelsea in midfield. I kind of like where they're going with it. Conor Gallagher's looking better with goals. Caicedo looks happier. Enzo Fernandez, the manager's. Funny, Rob, the manager talked about him. He didn't put it in a way of he's getting fitter, but he said his movements are better. He's getting box to box. His engine was way better in this game than I thought he had. So again, good signs and Cole Palmer, float into midfield. There's a core in the central area of the field that I like, and the back four, particularly at Malo Gusto, I thought he's one to watch for the future. I thought he's excellent.
Yeah, actually saw a lot of Gusto during that summer series, and I was impressed with him then and sort of said, wow, Reece James might have a job on a little bit. And we know Reece James struggled with injuries, a hamstring, I think it's again. I think it's one of them where they don't have to rush him now. They can, this guy will get games. Like you say, he ticks all the boxes, technically super strong, good on the ball, pacey, Remember, he's against Doku, one of the most dangerous wide players in the league. And he's got a bit of fight in him, Rob. If the ball's there and he has to go and put his foot in, I quite like that in him as well. So it's a great shout. It just adds to the talent pool of Chelsea, and another player that maybe in different days, Rob, if you have to go options, maybe go with a back three and a wing back between James and Mustoe. You've got players who can play in possibly both those roles, or Reece James May's the right side centre back with Mustoe outside. He might be something that Poch can turn to if he's needed. But you're right, I agree with that. I kind of think the mentality thing, so I'll just go back to the point you made. I kind of feel that it's a good point in terms of what's required. I kind of feel like, probably Thiago Silva's the experienced head who everyone's looked to, and you've talked about where he is in his career, and what a brilliant career it's been, by the way. But I just feel as though this group, Rob, have to take the mentality piece and move it on. I don't really feel like there's a great individual. I'm not sure Reece James is a great, vocal captain. He's not John Terry, is he? He's not that guy who, puts the armband on and goes... I almost feel like between the players, the Cole Palmers have got a role to play. Caicedo, Enzo have got a role to play. Colwell might, collectively, they've got to get themselves in a space where they don't let standards drop, where they know maybe going away to Burnley or Sheffield United, we've got to do as much as what we do when we go to Manchester City. And if they can start to do that as a group, as well as what obviously Poch and his coaches are doing, that's when, I get the sense that Man City at times get together as a group. And we've heard, was it Fernandinho before, Rodri's grabbed the group together and said, hey, we're not doing it, we've got to get back to our levels. I kind of feel that's what Chelsea have to do and challenge each other, Rob. Sometimes, as a teammate, you have to fall out with a teammate to get the best of him on a match day. And it doesn't matter after the game, it's gone. But sometimes those little sparks of kind of confrontation are what gets people playing at a high level.
I'll follow on that point, Rob, because I think it's pretty obvious. I felt that was a big step forward for Chelsea. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
That team now know what it takes to go to one of the best teams that we've ever seen in English football and get a result.
Yeah.
They've learnt tons. They've learnt tons on what it takes. The back four have learnt what it takes. Enzo Fernandez has learnt what it takes. The wide players, the shape of the team, they've learnt together on this. They can go... I don't know. I just think it was a really great learning game for Chelsea. Wow. If we do this extra work, by the way, we can go toe-to-toe with the champions. That's how good we are, everybody. And we're mid-table, and we feel sorry for ourselves sometimes. And everybody says we're inconsistent. But look what we can do together if we do get it right, and we put in that extra blimmin' 5-10% of effort, and what it can do for the team and the result in this division. So that is where I think there's a big step forward, and they've learned a lot about going to referencing, like you said, where a player can go back and say, remember the City game, remember how compact we were, remember how aggressive we were to win the ball back, and our quality in other areas will do well. I think this is a big game for Chelsea. Now again, the job for them and for other big clubs at times, the young players are being consistent. I still feel there's a few spots in the team, Rob, that are going to need help. I'm still really not sure about Nicholas Jackson being a centre forward to win him, to take him towards the very top of the Premier League table. There might be a few other spots, but I tell you what, I'm a lot more encouraged now defensively, Rob, because I thought, wow. They're missing Wesley Fofana, Thiago Silva's injured, but Levi Colwill and maybe Disasi. Maybe they've taken a giant step forward, and that back four can be settled, Rob, for a little bit. A little settled back four now with those two in front that we've talked about, and then they've got some nice, talented players in the attacking areas. Top marks of Chelsea. I thought they were really good. Let me just chuck
two quick thoughts at you about Chelsea. One is ahead of a League Cup final next weekend. Maybe we'll learn a bit then, Rob, having, what a great kind of rehearsal that was. Now can they take a mentality and some belief into that game at Wembley? Because a bit of silverware would do no harm to that football club. Just in terms of, as you were talking, I was just thinking about Disasi and Colwell in particular. Two young players who've come into the football club who, are still finding their way, still finding the right levels, but both with potential. And I've had the situation before, and I'm sure you have. Sometimes, Rob, when you're playing either next to, we were midfield players, or somebody where you're next to an old kind of legend, and he's the guy, and like you've probably watched him in your career, and then you're playing next to him, and you know, sometimes, Rob, and I'll talk personally, you get a little bit edgy that you don't let him down, and he doesn't think bad of you. You know, with Thiago Silva not being in the team, and I'm not talking about ability or anything, and this is just a human nature, might sometimes players feel a little more at ease?
Yeah, I agree. I think when there's a team of youngsters that you look around and it's like, oh God, it's just us. Let's get out there and do it. I think it's a good point. You're almost, Robbie, you're a little intimidated by him, and you're very easy to let him call the shots and make decisions.
Dominate
and cover. It happened to me many times in midfield at Middlesbrough. We had a lot of kind of big name midfield players come in, and I ended up doing their work. Like they were a little lazier at that point, maybe older in their career. I kind of swept up after them. I did a lot of their work they didn't want to do. And when I played at my most enjoyable time as a midfield player, actually, Rob, was playing in midfield in the Premier League alongside a Borough lad called Jamie Pollock. And we were both kind of, I think I was mid-20s. He was like a few years younger than me. And we loved the challenge of going up against these Premier League sides with these big-time midfield players. And we just gave it everything. And I loved playing with him, maybe more so than some of the stars I played with. I played with Paul Gascoigne and Paul Ince and Andy Townsend and Emerson and Juninho and all these guys that were huge reputations. So I think it's a good point. And maybe, you know, time is to move on. And it's Colwell's time now, and it's Dizazi's time now, and it's Gusto's time now, and other players to be those legends and to get the confidence in that. Before we move on, Robbie, I've got to talk the champions. And
let's talk.
It was a bit
City.
No, you go ahead.
Not a great day. I mean, I think it's 70% possession, so as much possession, but certainly first off didn't, create too many chances. Again, let's talk about an off day for the big man up front. So we had 9 shots in the game, Rob, an XG of 1.71 in this game alone, Earle and Haaland. So I don't know, is it a case of, listen, even the champions can have off days. Even this great goal scorer, 36 Premier League goals last season, can have an off day. Might that be what gives, if this is Jesus having an off day, we say, oh, that's why Arsenal can't win the title. Big top centre forwards have days when it doesn't quite happen for them. I mean, the header sort of sums it up. I mean, the header he scores 99 times out of 100 with his eyes closed, lying in bed. So that just summed up that it wasn't his day. Connections wasn't right, his timing wasn't right, whether his confidence or his body language wasn't great. It was just one of them days. They got better second half. They will feel they should have had a penalty. I think I agree with you. Watching it live, I didn't think it was. I mean, we go forensic on it, and there was a bit of arm movement, but I'm kind of glad the referee stayed with his decision and no penalty was given. I think it was the right call in the circumstances. On a day when I think it was a day that would give Arsenal and Liverpool hope, Rob, that Manchester City might have some days when it doesn't quite go as always to plan, and maybe a couple of star players have an off day. We very rarely see it, but I'm sure that's what might just give them some hope to that they might go all the way.
I thought there's 2 parts to it, Rob. There's certainly the Earle and Haaland part to it. There's another part to it that we shouldn't ignore.
Yeah.
Chelsea could have had 3 goals. And Man City have conceded many more goals than you might expect, particularly on the back of what I've said before, Rob, about this team with all these big centre-backs. They look so strong and physical. They've really improved that part of the play, and that's why they're winning titles all of a sudden. I think they've gone off it a little bit. I've just finished a quick tactics session in the studio there, Rob, looking at City. And there's a couple of examples of Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake. What's the right word? Not very conscientious in their defending. I don't want to say lazy. I feel that's a little bit harsh. But at times, for one of the chances, I think it was a Sterling chance, Kyle Walker's just lets him run by him. I think for a very early chance, it was Nathan Ake that was very slow getting back. Yeah. And that left them so open space in behind. you know, I don't know whether the defenders need a little bit of a kick up the backside, Robert City, to say, listen, we play expansively. We need you to be at maximum alertness when it turns over and it breaks down, because there's a lot of space in behind us. And I feel in that game, particularly Walker, particularly Nathan Ake, there was moments when they jogged back a little bit, when their guy got the other side of them and caused them a problem. So there's a striking bit. But I think we know he's going to come good. I mean, there's no question. Haaland's a ruthless finisher. He had a bad day. The defensive side of it, Rob, for me is where the City, Arsenal and Liverpool might feel like, conceding a little bit and going to drop points. And that happened today. They got a point. Rodri does it again. So many goals come from him. That could have been a loss very easily. And that's what we'll watch now, Rob, over the next few weeks to see how Man City defend and if there's anything that Pep's going to do differently. I mean, he's got his guys in there. Ake, Diaz, Akanji, Walker, Rodri.
Yeah.
That's about as good as they can line up defensively, really. So, great game, though.
Well,
really enjoyed it.
I think it's an area... it was a great game. It's an area we always know. And the first thing we talk about, you know, City, when we talk about fullbacks or, if it's, I don't know, with John Stones, we talk about how inverted they are, how much they're going to go into midfield. And you know, if teams are brave enough and good enough, then we've highlighted those spaces that can be attacked. And you say, if City just not quite have it, if somebody just, you know, if Kyle Walker's determination to get back is just not quite on the mark, and he's against somebody with pace, it's going to cause them trouble. So, I mean, it's a good point and certainly something to watch. And we do have to just finish, because I just put, you know, Mr. Reliable Rodri. I mean, they have these people who have days for them, Rob. When it's a Haaland day, it wasn't his today. There's a De Bruyne day. We saw a Foden day against Brentford recently. You know, it's a Rodri kind of, not only what the goals of, you know, an obvious brilliant strike, gets a deflection, goes in, but he's the right man at the right time. But just his contribution to the game, Rob. And I was thinking that, you know, Caicedo and Enzo, both, you know, I thought had really good games and starting to look like a partnership. And Rodri sits there like he's almost a combination of them both, isn't he?
But he needs help, Rob.
He can get box
he
to
needs
box,
help sometimes. He needs help, Rodri, and that's another. You know, you've got Alvarez and De Bruyne that don't want to help him defensively, and he can normally do it, but not
he's
all
like
the time.
But it's a midfield player, isn't it? It's more of a midfield player, a fullback now coming into midfield than a midfield player sitting next to him.
Yeah. It was.
Listen, I thought it was a little bit of belief for others. Great game. A little bit of belief for the other teams, you know, in the title race, and a day that City will probably say is a blip and move on. But, you know, food for thought for Pep and his team.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.